Okay, back. Gonna read chapter 10 of Apollo 8. This chapter is about the translunar injection. Basically, when uh, humans first, or us Homo sapiens, left Earth for the first time, and kind of like the first ship that left the shore. It's kind of funny to think about this. We actually came from the ocean, supposedly. Our bodies are like made of salt water. I mean, like our blood's like salt water. So we're actually kind of like living in these skin spacesuits in a sense. But anyways, we go back out there to the ocean. Well, out in this space from the Earth to towards the moon. And yeah, translunar injection is. So this chapter 10 is the first time that we've already launched or in orbit around the Earth, and uh, at some point in the orbit, at the right time, the right trajectories, and all the calculations and everything, all set up to get to the moon and do the translunar injection burn to leave the Earth uh, for the first time ever, as far as we know. Uh, so escaping Earth's dominance of gravitational field. Anyways, um, so as a reminder, I pause a lot. I got to read the book and do my own interpretation to kind of respect the copyright a little bit. But I'm basically doing this off the educational exception to copyright Fair Use Act. But anyways, um, all the details of what I'm going to talk about, I'll put in a comment with timestamps so that you can hyperspace around through space time and jump around. As I know, most people on Earth are impatient and can only handle a few microseconds of somebody talking. So, anyways, this book is by Jeffrey Kluger. It's a great book. I highly recommend getting it and read the chapter before you watch the video or listen to the video or listen to the audio. Um, but yeah, I don't know if you noticed, I'm back in my experimental office space. So, I've completed my house sitting project for the summer. Okay, so this is a short chapter. The page starts at page 161 and ends at 174. As a reminder, too, I pause a lot. Uh, Use that as meditation to improve your signal to noise ratio inside your brain. Because I think most brains operate, unfortunately, with high noise levels. Uh, my own mind sometimes has noise and I'm very ineffective with lots of noise. So use that time as meditation to get to know yourself a little bit, get to know, contemplate the universe, uh, and the fact that uh, even though I'm sitting in a chair, or you're sitting in a chair, or you're on a beach somewhere, sipping a margarita, looking at a beach, beautiful ocean waves, um, you're actually moving freaking fast. As the Earth turns, you're moving towards the sunrise, away from the sunset, uh, and you are flying around the sun at a trajectory, and the sun is going around, which is a star going around the galaxy. So you're flying through space, even though you're just sitting. So just realize that. Um, I don't know, I got myself off track here, but yeah, I've already finished reading the whole book, and it's a great book. I can highly recommend it. I hope Jeff Kluger gets a movie out of this. Like an IMAX movie, or maybe some of you AI movie developers out there can make an IMAX version of this Apollo 8 mission. Because this is kind of like an unknown. I mean, it's not unknown, but not too many people know about the eighth mission. Um, because it was kind of foreshadowed by the Apollo 11 landing. I mean, not foreshadowed. It was most people know about Apollo 11. That's when we walked on the moon. But not many people seem to know about like well when we first got there. Uh, first humans got to see the far side of the moon. They got to go all the way over there. Um, Not many people know. In fact, before Neil Armstrong died, I didn't even know that. I knew so little about Apollo 8 uh, uh, before when Neil Armstrong died in August 25th. I think it was 2012, day after my sun orbit completion. But anyways, so so this is yeah. I mean, to me, this is amazing. It's just like to leave this Earth in a little tiny capsule, which I believe is in a museum in Chicago. I'm gonna try to link you guys to it if you want to see the command service module uh, capsule. Um, yeah, I want to try to leave you guys a link to that. So if you wanted to visit, if you want to actually see the spacecraft that they flew in, the Homo sapiens flew in, the humans flew in the first time leave the shore of Earth. Uh, so uh, I may in fact try to go see that because I'm like think it's just such an amazing. Uh, it's underrated. So, anyways, okay. So this is December 21st, 1968. I didn't exist at this time. Well, I was not like molecular. I wasn't in molecular form. But anyways, let's see what we got here. So the third stage of the Saturn V rocket, in order to escape the cradle, the umbilical cord, or the womb of the Earth. In other words, to be literally, in a sense, born out of the Earth. Uh, the third stage of the Saturn V to be lit, and it's a 59-foot third stage, and that was still attached to the command service module at this point. So Mike Collins, he was the command service module pilot in Apollo 11. He was the guy when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin are walking on the moon, and he was the one guy, the one human connected to the whole planet between Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. But he hasn't even gone to the moon yet. But he's on the Capcom console on Earth, and so speaking of the spacecraft that they traveled in from the Earth to the moon, it had enough room so they could float over each other to get to different areas of the spacecraft and look at different windows. Um, I'm on page 165 of the book. Um, so once they got into orbit of the Earth, uh, the first person to take off his seatbelt was Lovell, according to the author, and get out of his seat. So he started drifting down to the area where the equipment is, and put his helmet away, and then felt his uh, zero gravity. That's something like if you ever get to ride in a Six Flags over Georgia or something like that. They have a ride. It's called the free fall ride, and it's amazing. I got to go on it as a kid. I'll link you guys to it in the comments. But that's kind of like what zero gravity probably feels like a little bit, just real briefly. Uh, and so he kind of Lovell warned the other crew members to be careful when they get out of their seat, just because they're going from one G of gravity to no gravity, and Anders was kind of a newer, less experienced astronaut, and Borman was telling him to look straight ahead for a little bit to help cope with the space sickness aspect of zero gravity. Um, so then, so Borman was telling Anders this, but then he released his seatbelt too and started to go towards Lovell and start feeling, and all of a sudden, well, uh, he had steak and eggs for breakfast and started floating around inside the spaceship. So, in other words, he vomited. So, and I didn't know this, but uh, you're going across you're leaving the Earth, uh, first ever. That's freaking probably puts a huge amount of, how can I say, power. Amazement inside your brain to try to like, how do you contemplate being the first humans, as far as we know, to leave Earth and go towards the moon? Well, it's understandable you lose your breakfast, you vomit, throw up. It's like you stay steak and eggs start floating around. I remember after riding a roller coaster with one of my younger sibling, and it was a fun ride. But then after I got off the roller coaster, started walking, and there's a garbage can. And I just threw up. It's like my mind I could handle it while I was on it, but then once I got off, my brain just it's like a kind of a negative reinforcement. I was like, what did I do there? Um, I think it was some theme park in California I went to. And Borman is the commander. So this is a captain throwing up. That happened to me when I was sailing overnight on the Pacific Ocean from Los Angeles to San Diego, and it was just me and the skipper. And the skipper, it was kind of interesting. We went out probably farther than we should have at nighttime, and I was like kind of driving the ship a little bit, and said, "You just follow the star." Okay, well, follow the star. But there's so many stars out there. I don't know which star. It's like maybe the wrong star or something, or maybe I looked away and saw a different star. so so we ended up like a long ways out there, uh, and I had like a night shift, and then we start in the morning. The morning came, and there's kind of calm weather. There's some big cargo ships way out there, and he said, my skipper said, "Oh, you're way off course." I was like, "Okay." so uh, so we headed back in towards the port of San Diego, and by the time we got just into by Point Loma, about the skipper threw up. He's like, or it was just probably like about 3 nautical miles outside Point Loma. Maybe you can see Point Loma, and my skipper started throwing up. It's interesting when we throw up. It's like it's after everything's okay. So it's like because you can see your destination. In this case, Borman, they they're in orbit. They just got in orbit around the Earth, and me when I was off the roller coaster. So um, Lovell's role was a navigator, and that was a huge responsibility because it was the very first time we left this planet, and so Lovell they had a flight computer which helps navigate to the moon, but Lowell also had to kind of verify that. So you have a little bit of good redundancy, which you really need in this situation. Uh, and there was 16 smaller thrusters on the spacecraft, also in the main engine. And both Lovell and the computer had 35 stars committed to memory. So, um, just like in the long time ago when sailors, had no GPS, and so what we used is sextants and the stars, and still in the Apollo used 35 stars committed to memory um, to get to help navigate. So Lovell spent most of his time in the lower equipment bay for the navigation. I'm gonna try to link you guys to a drawing of the spacecraft in the comments of like where the navigation bay is and like all the different windows and the sextant where they used to how level used to look at the stars and try to use the stars, not just try to use the stars to figure out where they are and to verify. Now Anders, the third astronaut, uh, he spent a lot of his training on the lunar module, which is not on this mission because the lunar module is used to land on the moon. It has those triangular, weird, awesome looking triangular windows with little tick marks on it. Figure out where you are. Um, help navigate. Uh, I'm just thinking about the navigation computer, and at this time, I'll link you guys. This 2001: Space Odyssey was released by Kubrick or Arthur C. Clarke. So I'm gonna link you guys to that the like HAL 9000 computer, which went awry. And this kind of connected to what's going on right now with AI. It's like, uh, as a spoiler alert, you can skip forward to what I'm about to say, but if you want to watch the whole 2001 Space Odyssey movie, but yeah, that computer basically overrode the captain and ended up killing some of the astronauts. Uh, so Dave had to shut him down. It's kind of similar to what happened in real life with 737 Max. The pilots could not override the flight controls, and we had two crashes. So that's not. I mean, need to be able to uh, override the AI for your ship if you had to. And I think later in American culture, like the Star Wars movie, the scene where the pilot Luke Skywalker has to destroy the Death Star, and he's trying to use his instrumentation, but then he goes to use the Force, quote unquote, to get to the Death Star and destroy the Death Star. But it's kind of a counteraction to that. And Neil Armstrong, I think the parallel with that is like when Luke Skywalker was took off his computer. It's just like when Neil Armstrong too, when he was trying to land on the moon, had to override the computer because it was going towards boulders, so he had to override the flight control. And I'm looking at my Alexa microphone LED lights, kind of going on and off, which is interesting. Uh, anyways, so Anders did a lot of his training on lunar module, but it wasn't on this mission. So he's kind of like having to deal with that. So his job became the mission photographer, and so there were several robot moon probes before this mission. Excuse me. I'll link you guys to that in the comments. But they were grainy black and white. Anyways, I don't know if you watched my last video on this, their chapter 8 or chapter 9 video. I put in the comments there was a Russian probe that crashed recently. Uh, sadly on the moon. Of course, Ukraine probably is happy, but anyways, well, I don't know, who knows? They're in an extreme boxing match, which is not good. But anyways, but the Indians landed a probe recently, successfully, and I thought I saw some news that they'd get some. It actually has a rover that went on, and so I'm gonna try to link you guys to comment what happened to that in the comments. If it's able to take some pictures, maybe I can link you to some pictures that because this just happened this month or was last. Oh, I'm losing track of time, but anyways. So anyways, Anders had to take pictures because we're trying to find a good landing site, and you can see Tranquility Bay if you look at the moon at night and you see like the gray area, or if you got glasses like me, and you have to use glasses, but you see the black area, like there's two rabbit ears kind of on it on the moon, two rabbit ears, and it's like where the two rabbit ears kind of go together. You can see like where the Tranquility landing site is, but Tranquility Bay. You know what's fascinating with today with all the photoshopping, generative AI. It's like if we landed on the moon today, it's almost like people could easily say, "Oh, it was photoshopped" or whatever. Uh, but back in this time, it was just at a moment where the technology was good, but not good enough to fake things like real easily. So it's a real interesting time in history to live and so Anders also had a critical role of monitoring the life support systems, oxygen levels, water velocity, heaters, and so these are critical systems. And when I was reading this, I put in a comment, think of the Titan sub, so that imploded and exploded, uh, going to the Titanic. I did some videos on that. It'll be really interesting when the official report comes out on that. Don't really know. It's the story. The skipper of that ship is very strange. He wanted to be an astronaut, and because he wore glasses, he said he can't. But you look at like videos of astronauts in NASA; a lot of them have glasses on. So it's like I don't know. I don't know what to say. Even Neil Armstrong later in life had glasses, and he's flying a ultralight. Or I mean a glider. I'll link you to a video of him flying the glider in the comments. I'm making work for myself. Um, and you'll see, I think he's wearing glasses with the glider. I think he is. Pretty sure he is. Um, and that's another thing. Neil Armstrong's last public appearance, I think it was his last public appearance, was in Flagstaff. It was where a little observatory is. They're building like a new uh, telescope over there in Arizona. Um, one of my buddies just sent me a text message. He he's working on a bathroom remodel, just like I am. I'm at building a new bathroom. I don't know if he's remodeling one, uh, but it's kind of cool. We both say it takes 10 times longer than expected, but his that's what his looks like. Uh, I didn't mean to get off topic here, but anyways, so Anders was starting to look at all these instrumentation in the spacecraft, and he saw that the system that cools the instruments was way the glycol system was way too low. So then the skipper popped his head up, said, asked him what was wrong. I'm on page 167 of the book, by the way. Anders says we're getting the glycol discharge pressure way down, and Borman asks, "You lost the glycol pump?" And Anders said, "Yes, so." So Borman's thinking that what's going on in the spacecraft. Are we on primary, or is the primary system or secondary? Think of that Titan sub at a primary and secondary system. If that transcript is real, they switch from primary to secondary power bus, but then communications were lost. Uh, and thankfully they were on secondary because if it was on primary, they would have had a failed cooling system, which could have been catastrophic for the mission. Well, yeah, it could have potentially been catastrophic for the mission. So they flicked the switch to primary. And so it was the first mistake. Anders was mad at himself. At this point, all three of them still had their yellow life vests on in case they crash into the ocean or something like that. So, uh, and as Lovell floated uh, over Borman's seat while checking the panel for navigation instruments, his life vest tab, the activation tab, basically got uh, trapped on the a strut that was sticking out and allowed popping his sound and his life vest inflated inside the spacecraft, I guess. And it freaked Borman out, saying, "What was that?" And his life jacket. So it's blowing up. That's interesting. It's on page 168. Uh, so that basically released a large amount of CO2 in the small spacecraft, which is not a good idea. There's more details on page 168. Get the book to find out. Okay, let's see. So when I did to go number one, pee on the moon, urinate. I mean on the moon, in the spacecraft. In the lower equipment bay, just like in the Gemini spacecraft, there's like just a tube, basically a little funnel tube you need to pee in. Small reservoir. Um, so they use that to solve the CO2 problem. Get the book, find the details. All right, 169. It's a little bit of creativity to solve a problem, and interesting. Okay. Just some facts. The Saturn's third stage engine has a thrust of 225,000 pounds for exactly 5 minutes and 8 seconds. This, for the burn, would accelerate them at 17,500 miles per hour. I don't know how many kilometers per hour that is. To what? Okay. Is an escape velocity. It's interesting that 24,200 miles per hour was the actual escape velocity, which is a little bit less than 25,000. This is relative to the Earth. So Gemini had just two windows, but Apollo had 5 windows. Okay, uh, and Michael Collins wanted to look out the window in Apollo 11 when he was on, but there's a teleprinter he needed to have in order to have time to do that. But he wrote in his book "Carrying the Fire." I highly recommend reading his book "Carrying the Fire." It's a really good book. Um, so they had to look out the windows and see what's the status of the windows, and there's an official window status report uh, in terms of contamination, and they communicate with Mike Collins about this, who's on the ground, and Collins gave him the go for translunar injection called TLI. And so as Michael Collins kind of slumps back in his seat and waits. So I'm on page 171, the second to last paragraph. Let's see. The author is saying that no living creature had ever done this before, leaving the Earth to the moon. But I think the Russians had these turtles. I talked about it in prior videos. Uh, I think so. You have to go back in the prior video, but so I don't know if that was a mistake in the book or what. But anyways, this is where the giant leap started for humans. All right, for sapiens, and so go for translunar injection, TLI. You just call it TLI, um, just because of how profound it is. It tried to make it less profound in a way, because otherwise you'd be overwhelmed. So Jerry Bostic, Mission Control, said they're leaving us. He muttered, "We've got these guys headed out." And so Borman and Anders and Lovell buckled their seatbelts. And so 5 minutes before translunar injection, Collins calls out, said everything's good. So there's a translunar injection checklist. So Borman started doing a countdown: 9, 8, 7, 4, 3, 2, and then the engine started. Translunar injection. 59 feet away from their seats. Liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen flow. The separate take. Okay. Light on. Borman called ignition. Roger, ignition. Collins says on the ground. And so they obviously felt a pushback, acceleration, artificial gravity, in a sense. Collins reports are looking good. Just over a minute, still looking good. Borman answers, okay, Roger. 30 seconds. Okay, so 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, the engine shut down. Right, 30 seconds. 10 seconds, 5, 4. Okay, trail off. 3 seconds later, the engine suddenly shuts down. Or, wait a minute. The engine had roared to life. Yeah, completely shut down. So the only sounds in the cockpit now were rolling of the cabin fan and breathing of the 3 astronauts, and crackle in their headsets from the command center on the ground. Leaving the Earth behind at 24,200 miles per hour. Fast. Uh, Sustainer engine cutoff. That's what it's called. So that's basically when humans first left the Earth, as far as we know, unless it happened before and civilization collapsed and all the documents were gone and like the Library of Alexandria got burned or whatever. There's that Antitheca machine. It's like such an out of place. If I pronounce it correctly, I'll link you guys in the comments. But it's like an artifact. It's out of place. It was found in I think in the Greek in the Mediterranean. But anyways, 400,000 plus scientists and engineers helped and technicians helped make that possible. Okay, so that's it for this chapter. I just bought a new book at Impulse today. Actually, my this book. Actually, I got it as a gift today. It's for my dad, and so I'm gonna read this. I don't know. I got this because I just I have a friend, okay, a Doctor Who. You know who you are. He doesn't trust this guy. He says because he lies, doesn't have an accurate output. So I figured I should learn a little bit about him. But I'm also reading. I'm probably about halfway through the hedonistic neuron book. It still puzzles me why this is not being published, or it's like it's not even available. So I need to contact. I'm gonna try to contact the author. I mean, not the author. He's not alive, but the publisher. See if I can just read it word for word as a video. Um, I did get permission from to read another book, do videos on from one author. I don't get permission from the other author. But anyways, I hope you all are doing great out there in space time in the future. I'll be sitting in this chair out in space, nowhere in the middle of nowhere, in a vacuum, because different times, a different universe. So, uh, but I hope you're doing great wherever you are. And what can I say? Oh, yeah, a whole month's already gone by. Um, time just goes by too fast. When you're a kid, you don't appreciate time. You don't appreciate time until you get older. So it's like, uh, so it's good to try to spend your time wisely if you can. So that's what I do is I try to put all the comments, timestamps, so you can jump around and maybe try to get through all these videos really quick. This is where we are in the book. Okay, so it's like right there. I got my Vietnam bookmark. See? Um, so, anyways, hope you're doing great wherever you are. Stay, have fun, and keep reading. So, use your time valuably if you can. So, anyways, okay, I gotta say goodbye. Adios. Hasta la vista, amigo, amigas, Zaijin, Panyos. I should not say. Okay, anyways, you take care of yourself, and I'm gonna stop recording. And I hope to see you in the next video. All right, bye.